Right. I'm going to explain something to you about the art of meditation. It's not an art. You do it anyway. You do it naturally. It's a natural occurrence, but you're not conscious of it. And the entire point of meditation is to be conscious. Until the point where God shuts the door. You're probably thinking, ooh, I thought the door was supposed to be open. Yeah, but you've got to go through it first. That's the Kundalini. Genesis. The beginning. But you'll be guided to that if you follow the simple instructions of that character, Jesus. He was an anarchist. He was without leaders. That's what anarchy means. So ignore that modern day interpretation of the word anarchy. It's Greek. It means without leaders. So to be led by nature, as opposed to the likes of Boris Johnson, for goodness sake. Joe Biden, fuck me. That at this stage of the game, because it is a game, but it's a very important game, you will understand that all of mankind's leaders are liars and thieves. They are self-aggrandizing wankers of proportions that the masses are incapable of conceiving. Now, I'm sure most of my listeners are acutely aware of that patently obvious fact. So if you're attaching yourself to any man-made nonsense, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're distracting yourself. It was hundreds of years ago, one of the Pope's people said, give them beer and circuses. And you can follow beer and circuses all you want. You will find nothing. All you will find is lies. That gets old really quick, to the point where you'll just lose all faith in humanity. You'll be so despondent. But you've got your brain into such a state that you've got to keep looking, and it becomes addictive. And in the so-called truther community, it's like a massive game of one-upmanship of who knows more than the other. So it's all ego, and that gets old really fucking quick, because it's no different from the political corridors of power or the religious corridors of power. It's just they're not wearing costumes anymore. They're just wearing clothes like the normal people. But it still lies. Because the truth is inside you, the individual. It is not found on a computer screen or your smartphone or in me or in anyone else. It is in you. And you need to get infected with the COVID, which means the divine spirit. And that's simply intuition. It's the divine feminine, the intuition. And the more you clean your house, the better your God can function, God being your brain. And the brain recognizes patterns. And like the character Jesus said, eat what's put in front of you. That doesn't mean you look for it. It will be put in front of you, for you. You don't have to look anymore. There's no more sweat on your brow. Things will be given to you, and you'll eat it. In other words, you'll look at it, you'll consider it, you'll chew the cud like a clean animal. but you'll be asking, what does this mean to me? As opposed to, what does this mean to humanity? Because to change humanity, you have to change one mind at a time. And this is not about groups. Groups are the problem. Groups have leaders and followers. This is not about that. This is about being free. And it's about being free of the matrix. What is the matrix? It is a mental illusion that's been laid out over the fabric of reality, and people think it's real. There are people that believe that the Queen is a descendant of Jesus, which is an absolute nonsense. There are people that firmly believe that the Constitution of the United States of America is God-given. That's an absurdity. It's nonsense. You are either free or you're not, and you cannot ratify freedom with symbols on paper. If you have to write, if you have to get scribes to make laws to say you are free, then you are not. Yeah? And this system of beliefs is just a nonsense. And it's all generated by an ego that is lost, or lost at sea. And the clever people that run this system, they're the ones that make sure it is maintained by keeping the population in a mental stupor. They will promise peace and security and freedom, but you have to do this and you have to do that. Some of you might be feeling a bit of pressure with regards to this vaccine. They cannot make you take it. It has to be done of your own free will. But people won't research that. They'll take it because their mental landscape is one that depicts peer pressure, societal pressure. Oh, if I don't take this, I'll lose my job. Ah, the love of money, the root of all evil. Isn't it funny that it says in the so-called end times that they will prophesy in sackcloth? Now you could interpret that as meaning that people haven't been able to work because they've become societal outcasts and they haven't been able to buy clothes, so their clothes are like fucking rags. Yeah, that's a part of it. But sackcloth is also within. It's your chromosomes. It's your DNA. And at that stage of the game, those individuals they won't know the truth. They are the truth. They are Emmanuel. God is with us. They are God in the flesh. And how will you know them? Well, because they tell the truth. And they don't mince their words. And they don't give a fuck what people think. And the truth doesn't need defending. It just is. It doesn't need laws to protect it. It's just self-evident. Funny that. Because religion is protected by law. Only lies need to be protected by law. Because if it was the truth, it wouldn't need protecting. It would protect itself. That's the truth. But it isn't, is it? Now, religion was used to tie humanity up in knots. Worked for a very long time. But the Industrial Revolution, to get where we are now in this technocratic society, that's the way it's going, is that to to build this society, they had to educate the people. But that's a double-edged sword. And then they invented things like the internet, which is just a manifestation in the physical realm of your own internal internet. And people use that to find information and educate themselves. And they started going away from the mainstream narrative. So they're trying to regulate the internet. They're using fear to keep people's energy low. Fear of losing their jobs. Fear of losing social standing or status. Anything that the ego clings to, they will use as a weapon. So basically, anything that you attach to, your social status, your reputation, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the house you live in, the job you have, the letters after your name, the thing that you use to prop up your mortal ego. They will weaponize pressure for the ego to buckle, to maintain the illusion that it is built for itself. But the ego is an illusion. And the illusion can't die. Because it was never real in the first place. It's part of the matrix. It's what you had to build to fit in with this society. You were born into this world and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then you kind of like, well, you just get washed along by it. And then perhaps later in life, 35 onwards perhaps, you might be thinking, what the fuck am I doing? What is this? Who is it? Who are these people? What is it? What? And you start to see it. The lies. And then you become a conspiracy theorist. Much to the disdain of your family and your friends. They think you're losing the plot as you're screaming at them. And then they disenfranchise you. And your box is getting smaller and smaller and you're trying to get out of it. But you don't know how. Nobody's told you. The thought of reading ancient scriptures is repugnant to you because that's just stupid. Oh, the arrogance, the hubris of the ego. It is truly boundless. But it limits itself. There's too much talk of the hidden hand, the so-called powers that be, the people that think they are running the show, but they're not. It's an illusion. They are being ran. They think they're in charge of all this. They're not. But they think they are. That's what's great about it. But you might be thinking, yeah, but if we get rid of them, then everything will be good. No. Because those are the gatekeepers out there. What about the gatekeeper inside you? Your own ego. What does it hide from you? Whenever you feel fear rise, whenever the ego's like, ooh, that's where you need to look, because the ego doesn't want you to. But it's fear that keeps the ego in power. It's the fear of the ego being discovered. Now, some of you, your ego is running your house. You are becoming aware of that. Some of you might not be aware of it at all, but you will be. Some of you are more advanced. That doesn't mean you're any better, it just means you're further down the narrow path. Now, when you realize that it's your own ego, your own illusion of separation, your own low state of consciousness that has occulted things from you, then you're halfway there. That's why it's written, when you see the abomination that causes desolation in the holy place, know that the end is near. So what the fuck does that mean? It means when you're meditating and you experience the split in your psyche means soul, where the ego is doing what the ego does, but you're watching it. So who's the watcher and who is the ego? Well, the watcher is symbolic of higher consciousness, Jesus. And the ego is symbolic of the Apostle Paul. The two witnesses. That's what it is. And I alluded this to in my last videos. I allude to things because, look, I can't give you this. I can only, like, show you, like, this is the way. This way. Not me, but inside you. So you turn your 5 senses inwards, and then the consciousness that powers those 5 senses will reveal things inside you. It's part of cleaning your house. Now, and then you'll realize that the ego is the one that's been causing the trouble all along. And then it won't be such a puzzle anymore. And then you'll know what you have to do. And it becomes quite a comfortable process because you do nothing on your own. I wonder who said that. Oh yeah, Jesus. Because he and the Father are one. So your own higher consciousness is Jesus. And it is the link to the unified field, the Father. It's really simple. I enjoy all the emails I get. I even enjoy the hate emails because it validates that I am saying something that's making people think. Now, if you drink alcohol, nothing will happen for you. Nothing. Alcohol comes from the Arabic word al-kul, and ghoul comes from that word, because alcohol turns people into ghouls, mindless zombies. Yeah, but I don't drink much. It doesn't matter. It affects your consciousness. We all know that one glass of wine will infect your ability to drive. And some of you will be saying, you know, I'm okay with 2 or 3, I can still drive good. No, you can't, you fucking moron. It impairs your consciousness. Accept it, because that's the truth, and you know it. So these like excuses the ego makes for itself. Well, I'll be okay. I've done that for years. Get beyond that. Accept the fact that alcohol is poison. It's not called the devil in disguise for no reason, except it's not even in a disguise, is it? You know? And you can get alcohol anywhere, anytime. They tried prohibition in the United States, and it turned into a big criminal enterprise, because the people, they can't stand reality that mankind has created. They can't stand the matrix, so they'll do anything to escape it. Drugs, alcohol, and it's a symptom of seeking a way out, but it's the wrong way. Yeah, we've got computer games now. You've got entire generations of youngsters that just disappear into computer games for 12 hours at a time. It's fucking brilliant if you're a shit parent, because you can just let them plug in. But that's not the way to seek. The way to seek is to disconnect. You disconnect the ego and you connect to yourself, to know yourself. The ego is not the self. The ego is just an actor an imposter, a pretender. It's pretending to hide from you the fact that you are God. And it does a really good job. Fooled me for a long time. Now, so alcohol, that shit has to go. Now, some of you will struggle with that. I didn't actually. What I did, it was just a process which I wasn't really cognitive of. I would drink to fall over. And it got to in Germany they don't sell litre bottles, they sell 3/4 of a litre. So I'd buy 2 bottles to make sure I fell over twice. And then I picked up a bottle and I was, no, can't be asked. I just walked away from it. Just stopped, just like that. Required no thought whatsoever. So, this is where the saying comes in. Do not do the work of the malak. Don't try to do the work of the angel or the work of higher consciousness. Don't try to do the work of your higher self. That's why I'm still doing these fucking horrible things. And I know they're bad for me. Now, I've tried stopping. And it has all its difficulties, just like some of you are struggling with alcohol and things like that. And all you're doing is setting up a fight with your ego. It will be taken care of by your higher self, where one day you'll go like that and you just don't need it anymore. And you'll just put it down and walk away from it. All you have to do is clean your house and to allow the body to raise the energy. All you have to do is disconnect the ego. That's meditation. Moderation. Calm yourself down. Look for equity, balance. This is what we need. We need balance. We need a balance between the illusion, the ego, and higher consciousness, the two witnesses, so they can work together. This is why Jesus said to his followers, he said, brothers and sisters. Okay, so he was implying that he's a sibling as well. He didn't look down at them and he didn't look up at them. They didn't look down at him, they didn't look up at him. They looked him straight in the eye because they're equals. Equity. The wolf and the lamb, they lie together. Do you understand? Now, and this is what it means to have a well-balanced house. And the ego becomes a servant of higher. You can't have two masters because you'll love one and hate the other. So what does that mean? You can't have two masters. You'll love one and hate the other. So you have to have one master. If your master is the ego, that needs to change. This is where you stop eating dead flesh, you don't drink alcohol, you meditate. And that's where the guidance comes in. And then you can be taught. And those of you that are cleaning the house or just starting to do so, you might be struggling with not eating dead flesh. Continue to meditate. That anxiety and that stress, the worry, the struggle will be taken from you. It will lessen over time. Now, and of course, when the student is ready, the master will appear. Just like that. And everything's okay. You'll have your days where you get tested a bit. Things will still piss you off. That's fine. It's being human. But you'll recognize it and you'll let it go. You won't brood. You won't be angry for any longer than is necessary. You won't drag things out into some sort of macabre soap opera, which is what so many people do. Now, meditation. This is going to be two videos again, quite long this. When you're meditating, you turn your senses inwards. So you're using your sight, which is your inner eye, your hearing, So you might hear a car go past. You're aware of it. You don't need to open your eyes to look at it. That's the ego. You just need to be still and let things happen. And as you turn your senses inwards, the focus goes inwards, and where attention goes, energy flows. So at the moment, you're living and you're putting all your attention out. So all your energy that you've got, it's going out there. You never get it back. But if you turned your energy inwards, then you learn from what your body's telling you and how you feel. And then you can respond with logic and reason instead of just repeating the same old karma and having the same old reactions. And it's a great place to be, because you might find yourself in a situation which is prickly, where somebody's saying something to you and you've never liked them, and they've always exerted some sort of power over you. They've got some kind of manipulation, and then they're doing it again, and you're just looking at them and you feel nothing to them, but inside, complete calm. They are having no effect on you. That's called ruling your kingdom. And when you're in that place, it's very peaceful, and you're not disturbed by the soap operas of others. Now, you can be if you want to be, but you don't have to play there. You can turn it off. The emotions, as it rises up like a serpent trying to get back into the garden to influence Eve, you can bruise your heel on its fucking head. Ruling your kingdom, you see. Now, but like I've said, if you want to play, you can play. There's nothing wrong with it. But you have to be true to your higher self. You can't live a lie anymore. When you turn the senses inwards, you'll become aware of things, and you are looking. Jesus said in Matthew 6:22, "Let thine eye be single." So if you shut these eyes, you're in the pineal gland. That's your third eye. So let it be single. That's what he's talking about, the single eye. He's not talking about these. These are the two thieves on the cross. Okay, the cross is the vagus nerve. I'll explain it shortly. Now, he said, the next verse was, "But if thine eye is not single, how deep is the darkness?" Because he said, if your eye was single, your body will fill with light. In other words, the energy, the electromagnetic is risen up. It's gone through the chakras. It's crossed over a dialectic Z point. Electromagnetism, where it crosses over, it produces light. Those are the 7 seals in the book of Revelation, and they burst open and the energy starts to flow. You've got 72,000 nadis on this side and 72,000 nadis on that side. That's the 144,000. Now, but if your eye is dark, how deep is that darkness? Now the character Jesus is asking you, how deep is that darkness? Well, find out. That's where you seek the kingdom of God, in the darkness. Now, as you're in the darkness, you'll see flashes of light. Keep looking for them. Those are messages from higher consciousness being fed to the brain, fed to your higher self, bringing your Adam back from his deep sleep. Remember? God put Adam to sleep when he made Eve, which is your subconscious. You're now waking Adam up. And in time, Adam, your higher self, symbolic of Jesus, same thing, starts to guide you, the ego, the enlightened mind. And then all the responsibility is taken off you, because you know you're being looked after and you're protected. You have no fear of death O death, where is your sting? Reincarnation, not coming back. Well, not in the physical anyway. Now, it's a process, it takes time. When you're in meditation, God shuts the door. So your brain shuts the door to the outside world. So you are now within. You have climbed the mountain, which is raising the energy up, that's climbing the mountain, and now you're locked at the top in mortal combat with God. And then you overcome. Now when Jacob fought God, God put his hip out. When you're up there and you've got a dislocated hip, you can't climb down. That's it. It's like you're known. But it's like a halfway house. You still, there's a sacred secretion to keep rising, to keep oil in the lamp, to keep it burning. The light of consciousness. Because if a thief comes along in the middle of the night and steals it, you'll not get it back. So you keep oil in the lamp to keep it burning, so you can watch. A watchman on the wall, there's the wall, to make sure that the thief doesn't come. Now who's the thief? Well, the thief is higher consciousness itself. So life is a gift. Consciousness is a gift. And it's a gift from the metaphysical realm, from the unified field. Has anybody ever said thank you? Has anybody popped by and said, hello, it's me. Thanks for the gift of life and the trials and tribulations. Or, I'm not having a good time, can you need some help? If people aren't grateful for what they have, or want to be lifted up, then they don't deserve to have their light of consciousness turned on, do they? Yeah? So that light is withdrawn from the world. So the people that have kept the oil in their lamp, they are withdrawn from the world with the light, because they are the light. But those that remain and the light leaves them, they have no higher consciousness. They can't reason anymore. They have no, if you can't reason, you can't lose logic, what's going to happen? They're going to rely on artificial intelligence, algorithms to make really important decisions. Can you imagine the fucking chaos? What would come out of that chaos, do you think? What four horsemen would come out of that? War, pestilence, disease, plagues, and death. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Are you grasping the picture I'm painting you? It's really simple. It's so simple. A child can understand these concepts because children have it. Adults have forgotten it. They've forgotten their first love. And everybody's seeking. The drug addict is seeking. The alcoholic is seeking. Everybody's seeking, but looking in the wrong place. You have to go inside yourself to find yourself, because you've forgotten it. It hasn't forgotten you, but you've forgotten it. And it's this illusion you've got to overcome, because if you can't be asked to overcome this illusion, then you don't deserve the gift of life. And whatever reward you get, you'll deserve. You reap what you sow. But if you're known, a father won't do that to his children. He'll protect them, but he'll guide them. He'll offer instructions. It's up to the child to follow the instructions. If the child doesn't follow the instructions, well, he's a naughty child, but he's still known. He's just foolish. Yeah, but he's still known. but I'd advise you to follow the instructions, because what's coming ain't going to be pretty. Anyway, part 2 coming up.